Darby, we saw him keep continuing essentially the open challenge with a match against JD Drake, which, like I said earlier, I've enjoyed the physicality of JD Drake's matches. I'm glad that he has some new ring gear. It's doing him a lot of help personally.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the big black Speedo wasn't necessarily a good look for him. I mean, it's a classic look for sure, but when you see this ring gear, it adds more of a, it shows that he's a professional to me.
Right. Yep.
You put this just a plain black Speedo, no logo, no nothing, put him in the corner, you're thinking it's just an enhancement talent, but this is actually showing like he's a talent. But boy, oh boy, does this guy hit hard, and he can dish the pain and he could take the pain. And that's something I really love to watch in wrestling. And this is just another one of those like lopsided Darby matches, and on paper, like JD Drake should be, I mean, Darby has beat Cage, so obviously that is the ultimate David versus Goliath. But I was very happy with the ending because he had the top rope move, then the coffin drop. Like, yeah, that's a convincing victory to me. Some of the other convincing victories that we've seen him do were a little half, I would say, lazy victories in a way and not as convincing. So I know you have a lot to say about this match. All I'm going to say is I'm happy that Darby is defending his title.
Mm-hmm.
And I have nothing against JD Drake getting a shot on Dynamite at all. And like I said, I enjoy watching his matches. The physicality was entertaining, and the finish I was happy with. But that being said, it didn't really live up to me as it should have. But those are the pros that I saw out of the match.
Yeah, so. I'll start off on a positive note because you laid the foundation for a positive take on this. So I'll say this, like
thank John Cena.
Very, very physical match. Very physical. And I gotta say the two main things I want to take away from this on a positive way is that the physicality, that was one of them. I loved like that corner spot where I think a lot of it was happening in picture, but Darby was just smacking open palm, smacking JD Drake across the face while JD was up on the turnbuckle. I mean, and I'm talking about like way back here and coming up and smacking him across the face as hard as he could. He must have smacked JD Drake like a half dozen, 10 times in the face. I mean, and there's no faking that. He just got smacked hard in the face. And I think some of that might have happened because, like you talked about, Darby might have been a little frustrated with how physical JD Drake was in this match. You could tell there were points in which Drake recognized this was a huge opportunity for him. And he wasn't going to be caught like, half-assing it while he was out there with the TNT champ. He leaned into a lot of his offense. I got to give the man props for what he did. He looked like a powerhouse. And that leads into my second thing. My second positive is, man, like every Darby match that I've seen, his opponent always looks like $1 million. Always. I mean, like that's a huge compliment. I got to give it to Darby. I mean, every Darby match, you come away saying like, man, like whether it's Brian Cage or, again, Joey Janela, like his match with Janela, I thought was fantastic. We've had countless examples. This was another one where JD Drake came out looking really good in this match. Like this helped establish Drake as someone who you could see fight and have a good match on Dynamite and not just look, like you said, not just look as an enhancement talent. That's nice, and I appreciate that. And I got to give props to Darby for allowing his championship run. He's clearly a protected guy in AEW. He's got a lot of star power. He's an enigma in his own way. He draws attention and fans that just in droves. But he's not the typical champion, and that's where there's a good and a bad, right? There's a yin and a yang. It leads into this being a delete for me, and the reason why is that Darby is not clicking for me as a champ. I've tried really hard to acknowledge. I go back and forth a lot. I'm just having a hard time with it, man. He's so it's a beautiful thing. The man does not fit the mold of a professional wrestler. And
that's exactly what you want.
He does not fit the mold of a champion. I love that about him. But there comes a point for me, and I'm struggling with it, is, there's like a formula to a Darby where like 90% of his match he's getting just beaten up by his opponent. And it's, and it's one thing if it is a Brian Cage. I understand that. I understand if he's going against a Lance Archer, that kind of guy, a Will Hobbs. If you're going against a guy who, is an established powerhouse, an established star. But when you're having that kind of match week in and week out against, undercard guys, and that's not a slam on JD Drake. It is the fact. It's the truth. As FTR talks about, I love myself some FTR. There's top guys, and then there's not top guys. And let's be honest, right? Like FTR, top guys, right? Top guy mentality. There are certain guys who are top guys, and this is not a slam on JD. He is not a top guy in AEW, period. And I don't think anybody could argue that, right? So, he has not been presented that way to this point. And given how loaded the roster is, I don't think that that's his ceiling, right? For him to be presented in this way where he's giving your secondary champion, again, we have to remember Kenny Omega is such a fighting world champion that it's hard. We forget, but the TNT championship is that week in, week out. That's your bread and butter. That's your secondary championship. And for your champion to get tossed around and to be just ragdolled like that, I struggle with that a little bit. And that's why tonight's segment, unfortunately, that match was a delete. And that's not a slam on JD Drake or Darby as performers. It's just the way that formula of the match played out. It just didn't click with me.
I completely understand where you're coming from. And, even with those positives, overall, I have to agree with you on that delete section. Nothing could be perfect for sure. But